Hello, this is John Black, Super Chemist. This is part 2 of this woman who regretted trying to transition her kid.
That 20 years ago, you got into this ideology. 20 years ago, because to me, this is something fairly new. I first came across these ways of thinking in 2016. So how did you encounter it 20 years ago?
Well, just speaking to what I did already, I was in college, I was idealistic, I was an activist, and it was really, within that world that what you all would call woke ideology was starting to take root. So anti-globalization protests, Iraq war protests, all of those things. This whole, it was really through anti-racism. And that framework coming in, what some people refer to as neo-Marxism right now, right?
See, it's all communism, okay? And they're all the same. Feminism, communism, wokeism, genderism, all this stuff. It all has the same exact core belief. That and if you look at the country, you can see the belief that I'm telling the truth. Their belief is, it's written in their books, it's written in their whatevers. This is what they believe. You have to, it's your duty, okay? It's not just something that you should do. It's your duty as a human being that you should go out and destroy and dismantle and destroy everything, every aspect of your society, all the way down to the way people think and talk. Because only then and only then can you move on to step 2, which is build back better with a more fair communist / matriarchal society. Okay? They're all the same. That's why they can easily take them from one to the next, to the next, to the next. It's the same ideology. You have an oppressor and an oppressed person. All you have to do is hate the oppressor and emulate the oppressed, or stick up for them, or pretend you're part of them.
That sort of really came in and took hold of progressive movements and organizations, activism. And of course now we see that, across all of our institutions. But I was kind of, I would say, at the some fledgling beginnings of that.
And Rose, what was it about this way of looking at the world that particularly appealed to you and you found so compelling?
Similar to what I already said, it made things quite simple. And it also gave a solution, which was, you see injustice, a war is happening. Why is that war happening?
See, that's the thing. If they teach you first that every aspect of society is intertwined with this oppression, everything, all the way down to the way people think and speak, then you tell them you have to go out and stop it all. Well, what are they going to do? They're going to see it in every aspect of society, all the way down to the way people think and talk, because they've been drilled into their head that it's intertwined so much that you can't do anything except destroy it all and start from scratch, making your fair, build back better with your fair communist society. Okay, but it's all the same. It's all the same ideology, man. And if you look at the country,
how can we make it stop?
And if you look at the country, you can see that's why they destroy everything, because they think that they have to, because if they don't, they'll never have that. Millions of black people are dying. Millions of women are dying. Maybe millions of babies aren't being aborted. You know what I mean? They have to stop this injustice of these millions and millions of people being murdered under the patriarchy and the elites, or whatever, the capitalism. They have to do it, man. It's life or death, man. Life or death.
I had been involved with some very large protests and mobilizations, and as a young person, you're like, we are going to change the world, right? But the next day you wake up and nothing has changed. So there's a sense of despair and confusion, and you're looking for an answer. And so I think that this gave me that answer and kind of gave me a meaning and purpose for my life.
And when did the gender ideology part come into it? Because that to me is something very, very, very new.
So I would say once I got into that, the anti-racism world, and it's kind of like what I talk about when I think about it. In me, it's like almost like I was evangelized. I became an evangelist, right? And so, a lot of my work was working with progressive organizations to bring this framework in and help orient them towards it. And so, in that work, I started to meet people who either knew transgender people and or who, we were building in that intersectional lens. So we had to address the gender binary. We had to, introduce people to the concept of pronouns. And this was...
Yeah, but I mean, you have to tell your children that they're going to have cancer probably, because 1 out of 100,000 will get cancer. So we have to address it. We have to talk about it constantly with our children, our 4-year-olds. We have to. I mean, it just makes sense, right? That just makes perfect sense, right? So if you trans kid, 1 in 100,000 kids, you must, just like well, why isn't she revolving everything around cancer also? Doesn't she care about her child, that she doesn't want her child to be prepared in case they get cancer? Oh, I see. She's just crazy. Okay, I get it.
This was really within that greater framework of, we're going to bring this collective sense of justice, right, to the world, and all that formula, all of these identities need to be part of creating more justice. And so it was introduced to me through that, for sure. But also as a person who was coming out, as same-sex attracted, as a lesbian. My first girlfriend was younger than me. And she, when I said, I'm interested in dating women, she said, I'm not a woman. So when you're like falling in love, and you're going to get on board, and you're going to do what you need to do to support that person's expression of who they are. And so for me, the gender ideology, it came out of social justice, but it also was really coming up within, let's say, the female, what would be called now the queer community, but, within those networks as well, just socially and the dating scene.
Mm. And so coming back to the story of your family, Rose, the short version, the Cliff Notes version is, you had 2 kids, 2 boys. The first one was quite gender non-conforming, you might say. He was probably on the autistic spectrum, a bit different, and you raised him in this gender-neutral way because you believe this is in his best interests, and everything was going fine. And at some point he says he's a girl, and you have some reservations, but everyone around you is delighted for you of how brilliant you are. You're these brilliant progressive parents. Everyone's supporting you with this. And then your second boy, who is not gender non-conforming in any way, who's just a normal boy, he says he is a girl. And at this point, the light bulb goes off, right?
Finally, her light bulb goes off. Obviously, your kid the older one was autistic, so obviously he has low social skills, right? He can join this club and be, this gender club, and be loved by all, or he can stay an outcast as the autistic, low-skilled, social-skilled kid. What's he going to pick? And then on top of that, he's autistic, so the symptom of that is it's hard to connect to people, even your own parents or your siblings. You can't connect with them on a easy. It's not easy to them, man. So to get close, a lot of times they will emulate or over-emulate the people that are around that are friendly to them. And if that's about a 4 and a 6-year-old, for God's sakes. So he didn't go to school till 5, right? So he's with his mom all day long, being confused about his gender because she's constantly talking about gender to a 4-year-old that just learned how to talk and walk, and she's already bringing up hundreds of genders.
Tell us the story.
Yeah. So, couple things here. So things were going well, but we were never 100% like this was the right thing to do. And I think you try to be succinct writing a piece. I try to be succinct in this interview, but I want people to know at no juncture were we not questioning, was this right or not? part of what the ideology did for me that I came out of was when you have questions and doubts, you tell yourself that that's transphobia. Okay? So there's this self-reinforcing kind of circle loop of keeping you in something, even and maybe especially when you're uncomfortable with it.
See, that's what all religions do, because all religions, except for Pastafarian religion, has doublespeak in it. And so you have to accept that doublespeak, you know what I mean?
And so that was a piece of it for me throughout. But
in religion, it's the devil, you know, you're evil. If you even just question any of the contradictions or lies, or, you know, they're saying it's good but it's actually evil, you're like, what? You know, if you ever even question that, you are evil yourself by questioning it, you know what I mean? And that's what religions do, and that's what she's talking about in the woke religion, the communist religion.
You know, what we had seen in our older son was difference, right? We didn't know, and we still have not, I just want to be very clear because I did get some comments on this from the written piece. We see autistic traits in him. We've not pursued a diagnosis, but what we saw was difference. And the lens that we saw that difference through was informed by gender ideology. It was informed.
Now just think about it. Now if I think that my kid's going to get cancer, and my whole life revolves around me learning about cancer, teaching cancer to my kids, everything about cancer, they're going to end up, and then one day the kid comes and says, oh, I have a tummy ache. What am I going to think? Am I going to be like, oh, what? Oh, you might have cancer. You know, oh, let's get you to a doctor. Let's get you on some drugs to cure your cancer. Let's do some medical stuff here. My kid says he got cancer because he's going to think that he has cancer because you keep telling him that, right? So when he has his tummy ache, he's going to come and he's going to self-identify as a cancer patient. He's going to tell you, and you're going to be child-led, right? You're going to say, oh, my kid says he has cancer. He must be right. It has nothing to do with me telling him that he has cancer all his life or that he has a chance of having it. No. He really does have cancer. And we know because he's 4. And at that age, he obviously knows if he has cancer or not. He doesn't. He just learned how to walk and talk. Yeah, he doesn't know how to... No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't know how to... No, of course not. He doesn't know how to write his name or you know... He doesn't know what 2 plus 2 is. No. But he definitely knows his gender. And if he has cancer.
Could my child be trans? And so when some of those differences, we couldn't put our finger on them. But at the same time, he was kind of had this affinity to females and female things. So because of the lens we saw that difference through, that's what led us to question whether he was trans.
Think of it. You know, literally every child on this planet has played with something that wasn't stereotypical, you know, to his gender. Everyone. Every child has also said that they are the opposite gender because children like to pretend and they like to emulate people. People, all humans, not just children. People like to emulate what they look up to. And when you're a child and you're 4 and 5, you only have 2 people to look up to. Your mom and your dad, right? And if your mom is all, you know, you see your mom all day long while your dad's at work half the day, who are you going to emulate? You know what I mean? Who are you going to... Every child has said at one point that they are, you know, I'm a boy or I'm a girl, even though they weren't, because they were saying, because I'm like mommy, I'm like daddy. Just like this autistic kid is saying, I'm like my mother. And then the little brother says, well, I'm like my brother who says that he's a girl, and he does it because he's like his mom. They're just all emulating, and they, you know, and just because someone has the characteristic and plays with baby dolls one day, it doesn't mean anything.
So yes, we went with the program when he finally said, you know, I'm a girl. Yes, you can be a girl. But we were never totally comfortable with it. So you're right. Some things started to happen. Well, I just want to say my partner would come to me and say things like, what the fuck is gender? Like literally. because she had, she's a masculine female, and she had experienced, different desires to be a boy in her childhood, but she never transitioned, was very grateful for that. So she started bringing this to me, like, what are we talking about? We're talking, what does it really mean?